Hey guys, this is Comic Uno, and today I'm doing Comic Uno's Best Comics of the Week. And before I get started with this episode, I do want to announce that June 1st, this coming Monday, is the Kickstarter launch of Father Like Daughter issue 1 through 6. So issue 6 is finally coming out, and it's my comic book. It's about a high school girl. Father left her to become a full-time superhero. Everyone in the world loves him except for her, and then she inherits his abilities. So hopefully you guys could go check that out. I actually, in the description below, already have the preview link, so you can follow the project. That way, when it is launched, again, June 1st on Monday, you can get that notification and get some early bird specials. So one of the early bird specials is that anyone who wants to get this tier, which is 15 people, get the printed version of issue 6 half off. So it's a $5 tier instead of a $10 tier. So you definitely want to see when that project launches so you could try getting that tier. Now, moving on to the episode. So this week I had the same amount as last week, I think, which is around 6 books, but they all came out this week instead of last week. Some of the Marvel digital books came out from the week previously, so this is all from this week's books. And again, note from last week and continuous until my store officially opens. I've been reading my books digitally, but I am still getting physical books through my store, but through the mail, so it takes a couple more days to come here, and that's why you're not seeing the physical books right now. But of course, when the store does officially open and I get the books on Wednesdays, you'll have physical books again. Now let's get started, and my number 6 pick here is Marauders issue 10. Now, one of the struggling things, I think, with all these books is to kind of get back into the groove of reading the story because, it's been a while, and it's a little disappointing when it's a filler story, and obviously the writer and creative team and the publisher and everyone involved can't fix that. It was a filler story beforehand, and it's no one's fault that we had to wait longer for the issue, but that's why Marauders is a little lower, especially because there's so much tension with Kitty's death. I definitely want to see where that story's going, which it looks like next issue we will, and instead of this kind of filler story, action styled issue where definitely an interesting action issue where we get to see Emma and the team go against bigots, so that was nice, and there's some really fun action sequences here, but if I had to rank compared to all my other books, this was a little lower just because the plot progression wasn't really there. But I had a good time with this one, and honestly didn't dislike any of my books this week, so still a worthwhile pick. And if you've been enjoying Marauders, again, this is just more of an action-y side of an issue, and you do get a little bit of what's going to happen with Kitty in the ending of this issue, but very, very little, and it's going to be mostly for the next issue. And artwork is pretty solid overall. I do think it's a little cartoonier than I would expect for a book like this, but like I said, pretty solid book. I gave that 3 stars. Moving on to number 5, which is Teen Titans issue 41, I believe, and this issue is the penultimate of the Djinn storyline, where we get to see what place she's going to take in the team and if she can be saved. And of course she is in the end, and she's able to conquer her villains and her brother. And by the end, you get to see the team once again disband. I feel like this has just happened. So to see them disband again, I'm like, okay, this is a little quick. I thought everyone kind of forgave each other, but once the Djinn's like, no, I didn't forgive you, Robin, everyone's like, yeah, I don't know if I forgive you, Robin, either. And that's kind of the end of the issue. The stuff I did like with this issue was, Djinn conquering her worst fears and this battle in general, and the words of love she had for her team. I like the small moments between Djinn and Crush. I thought were pretty good. Artwork is always pretty solid for this book. It's cartoony, fun, good action. So overall, I'm gonna give that 3 stars, and that is number 5. Moving on to number 4, which is the Amazing SpiderMan issue 43. And this, again, it's been a while since we've read all these issues, but this picks up with the monster character. I think his name is Gore. I know it starts with a G. And we get to see him pretty much destroy New York City. Boomerang and Spider-Man have to figure out how to defeat him. And then Spider-Man realizes, okay, this monster is not too bad, and then takes him in as their pet, which was fun. But it was interesting the solicit said, oh my god, Spider-Man's life is going to change forever after this. And it definitely was a little clickbait there, but on paper, because, come on, his life has changed so much that he has a pet now. So that was a little bit much, but it was an okay issue. I think it definitely was a filler issue, which I think we're going to get a lot of those right now. And the one thing I didn't like is I felt like Spider-Man's point of view of the monster changed very quickly, because like the audience has the information of what happened to this monster, but Spider-Man doesn't. So it felt like Spider-Man had that information of his past, and from what I know, it was just told to the audience. So I thought that was kind of weird and kind of quick to just accept this monster that almost destroyed New York City. But overall, I think it was a fun issue. The artwork is really good from Ryan Ottley as always, and good action-y issue. Just like, alright, the cliffhanger wasn't as big as everyone expected it to be. Now moving on to number 3, which is Go-Go Power Rangers issue 31. This is, I believe, the penultimate issue of the series. And then we'll be leading into all the Mighty Morphin Power Rangers stuff. But yeah, I enjoyed this issue. I thought it was interesting to see the characters kind of grow apart. So we get to see Trini and Zach and Jason. They're doing their thing, becoming Omega Rangers or leading to being Omega Rangers. And then we have Billy, Kimberly, and we kind of mentioned Tommy, but I feel like Tommy wasn't in this issue as much, doing their own thing and still dealing with the Power Ranger stuff on Earth. And we get to see that wedge definitely play a part, and I definitely enjoyed that. Probably the scene I enjoyed the most was between Kimberly and Trini, where Kimberly talks about, you know, the divorce of her parents and kind of the PTSD she has there, and why she kind of has this abandonment issue with her friends, and why she kind of has this pit in her stomach that they're not sharing their quality time with each other. So I thought that was really interesting, and obviously with Mighty Morphin and how we see that play out, it's going to be a bigger deal, and that is going to put a bigger wedge between a good friendship between Trini and Kimberly. And just the small moments, like I like Zach and Billy hanging out, watching monster movies. I definitely enjoy the character beats the most. I do think that the series is getting into a good ending point, because I think at this point, again, because it's meeting up with Mighty Morphin so closely, this was a good time to end it, and I'm excited to see where the finale goes. But overall, I think this is a good character-driven issue, a lot of action as well, and we'll see where it takes us. But, you know, not a lot of twists and turns or anything, just because, you know, it's a story that we've already seen develop, so it's more of like lost episodes aspect of the story. So I give that 3.5 stars, and that is number 3. Moving on to number 2, which is another Ryan Parrott book, which I really enjoyed, and that is Aftershock's Dead Day issue 1. Now, I'm a big horror fan. I don't know if I would say I'm a big zombie fan, though. I like zombie stories, but they're not like my go-to. They really have to impress me if I'm going to read a zombie story. But I really enjoyed this, because it was kind of a twist on the zombie story. So we get to see it's not just these mindless zombies and I guess everyone kind of running away from them. You kind of have this mythology built up around the zombies, which was really interesting. Like, the Dead Day itself is its own thing, and really kind of digging a little deeper into, I don't want to say the religious aspect, but more of the existentialist aspect of what is death and what is life. I feel like with zombies, it's just like, get away from me, you're a monster. And yes, it's still playing with the monster idea, but it kind of goes a little deeper into this storyline, which I like. And I think the only way I could compare it is probably Revival. If you've ever read Revival by Image Comics, it kind of has a bit of a similar tone in that regard. But Revival, they weren't the classic zombie looking. This leans a little bit more towards the classic zombie. But yeah, I like that there is this whole entire mythology built around it, and I'm excited to see where this world goes. But what really attracted me to the book was the family. So the story revolves around, you know, your classic suburban type family, and we get to see that the mom kind of has a past, and definitely is a badass. She knows how to use a gun, and definitely has had a past before she was this suburban mom. Like, what happened to make her live this life, and then also what life did she live before? And we're starting to get little bits of what's going on there, because she does leave her family, I guess for the time being, for whatever mission she has to do in this issue. So I'm guessing we'll learn more about it as the series goes on. But overall, I thought it was a really nice twist, and I think the character beats were really good. I felt like all the family members were defined, and they all had their own personalities / own storylines going on. So overall, I give this 4 stars. I liked it. I think the artwork was pretty expressive too, and definitely gave me enough to want to read issue 2 and get excited for issue 2. Now, moving on to number 1, and this is another horror book, and that's Basketful of Heads, issue 7, the finale of this book. Now, as a horror fan, my favorite horror genre is the slasher / final girl trope. So, of course, I'm going to really love Basketful of Heads, because that's what this book is. And our finale, well, first of all, our cliffhanger from last issue, yes, I do remember it, even though it was a while ago. That's kind of how poignant it was. She gets thrown off a boat, and how is she going to survive? She doesn't have her axe or anything, and we get to see the axe does play a part for her to survive and try to defeat her bad guys here. And then she meets up with her lover, and she's like, oh my god, I'm going to get engaged because he has a ring. And then she kind of finds out, how did she get that ring? And it was not a good reason, and did not respect the girl who died in the beginning of the series. So she kind of realizes, okay, my boyfriend sucks. I'm going to kill him. I guess he died because there was one of the bad guys and then him still on the boat, and she used lighter fluid to make the boat blow up and kind of play into the Norse mythology that the book was already playing with the axe / kind of Thor's hammer, it feels like. So she plays with that, and then what I liked is that she kind of goes a little crazy in the middle. Come on, she has to. She first of all injected heroin into her finger because she doesn't have one anymore. She doesn't have a finger anymore, and she just dealt with all that stuff. She blew up her boyfriend. She had a lot of trauma go on, and it reminded me a lot, and I think I've stated this in the last issue or last episode I reviewed this. It's very like Texas Chainsaw Massacre. Like, one of the best scenes and one of the most memorable scenes is the little dance that he ends up doing, Leatherface, but also our main character, or the final girl, Sally, running away and kind of laughing on a truck and going crazy and having blood all over her face. That's like the scene you remember, and you definitely get very interesting vibes of that. She sings to herself, and just kind of that hysteria play a part here. And I really just enjoyed this character a lot, and how much she went through to survive, which is exactly what a final girl should do, and have some interesting personality as well. And I hope we get a sequel. I really liked her. The mystery itself was okay, but her as a character was very interesting, and the artwork was out of this world. I really think the color palette and just the style worked so well for this, and really met what you want for a slasher story. So overall, really enjoyed this full series. If you haven't read it, if you're a fan of horror or just slasher storylines, definitely go check it out. I gave that 4 stars for the finale. Hopefully you guys enjoyed. This is Comic Uno. Definitely go follow me on Twitter and Facebook. Go check out my comics, like Father Like Daughter and They Call Her the Dancer. And every Tuesday at 10 p.m. Eastern Time is our comic book podcast, Comic Book Weekly, where we discuss all things comics. So be sure to check that out as well. Thanks, guys. Bye.